Comic Book Savant, episode 424. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant. I'm your host, James Harris. This episode, we're going to be doing a comic book discussion where I'm going to be going over some of the details of the recently unveiled Disney Plus service. We've been hearing rumblings about Disney Plus for a while now, and we didn't know too much about the service. We didn't know the price points. We didn't know what they were going to be offering on the service. But about a week or so ago, they had a big rollout on showing some of the features. What are they going to be offering on the service? And I wanted to discuss it in some detail, similar to what I did with DC Universe before DC Universe rolled out officially. We still have a few months. We know that the official launch date for Disney Plus is going to be, if I remember correctly, it's going to be November 12th of this year. So we're still a few months, quite a few months away, about 7 months away, because we're in April. So we're about a good 7 months away from when this launches. But it was good to finally get a price point and really them digging down on what they're going to be offering on the service. And Disney is not directly tied to everything comic books, but we know they do own Marvel. So Marvel has a big part to play in it. And that's what I'm going to focus on in this episode. Before we get into that, I'd just like to give a shout out to my friends over at the Comics Podcast Network. If you like what I do here and you're looking to find more comic book related programming, definitely check out the Comics Podcast Network. You can find them over at comicspodcast.com. There are literally hundreds of different podcasts listed there. You can find podcasts for individual characters, teams, publishers. You can find a single person podcast like myself, roundtable discussion shows, you name it, you can pretty much find it over at the Comics Podcast Network. I've been affiliated with them since the very inception of the network, and definitely I think it's a great place for you to explore and try to find more comic book related programming if you're ready, if you're ready to listen to it. So if you have a moment, definitely stop by there and check it out. Now, with all that being said, let's get into this episode. Again, it was a lot of speculation surrounding, Disney Plus for a while now, because we pretty much knew since last year that it was coming sometime the end of this year, but we didn't know specifics. Certain things were rumored, but Bob Iger had a full, press conference, and really they start showing what the app is going to look like, what devices, what platforms it's going to be available on. So it was good to finally see it. So again, here's some of the bread and butter things that we have. We know that it's going to release November 12th or December 12th. Hold on, let me double check that. I had it written here in my notes as December 12th. I thought it was November 12th. Hold on. Maybe I wrote that down wrong. Launch date. Yeah, November. I wrote it down wrong. I know I was tripping. Good thing I double checked that. So it is November 12th. November 12th, 2019. We have the monthly price is going to be $6.99 a month, with the annual price to start at $69.99, which is a really good price. They really priced themselves, where it's going to be hard to turn down to say, for something like Disney Plus that's offering all the programming. You look at, they have Marvel, they have Star Wars, they have Disney, they have Pixar and National Geographic, all encompassed in this one app for $7 a month or $70 a year, which everyone anticipates that will probably go up, but it's a good entry level point to get as many people subscribed to the service as possible, which I think is smart, because I've talked about with DC Universe where I felt like they kind of price themselves out for what they were offering, but for what you're getting with all those properties for a Disney app, is well worth it. Now, shows that they have announced, as far as on the Marvel side, like I said, I'm sticking to simply the comic book component with the Marvel umbrella of Disney Plus, and how they basically look like the app is looking similar to like a Netflix kind of style app that you'll have like on your TV or your device, where you'll have your main like umbrellas, like so you'll have a tab that's Marvel, a tab that's Disney original, or what have you. Then National Geographic has a tab. Then you go within that tab, and then like it's all the content for that umbrella then falls into there, and then it's separated out. So it looks similar to things you're already accustomed to on your smart device or whatever when you're looking on your TV, which is kind of cool. It's familiar as far as how the navigation is laid out. Now, shows that that I found information on across the board. We heard about Loki, the Loki show with Tom Hiddleston, like a while ago. That was one of the first rumored shows. Then they talked about WandaVision, which is the Scarlet Witch Vision show, which they're officially calling WandaVision, which is really weird. Then we have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. Then they announced right before this announcement, Hawkeye show. Then we have the animated Marvel's What If show. It's an animated show that is doing the whole What If formula, but it's going to be within the MCU universe. All these shows are going to be tied into the larger MCU. The Loki show, again, Tom Hiddleston is going to be in the show. The WandaVision show, Tom Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. Falcon and the Falcon and Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan and Mackie are supposed to be in these shows. Hawkeye show, supposedly Jeremy Renner. We haven't had any confirmation, but I'm assuming they're keeping these. They said they're directly tied into the MCU movies, and it's a new form of storytelling, and it's going to be continued stories being told through these shows that directly tie into the MCU, unlike the Marvel Netflix shows, which they did in spirit but weren't directly tied. That in this case we're going to have direct correlation to the MCU movies going forward from the time this launches. The What If is a similar thing. I think the first episode they said that the first episode is going to be what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum instead of Steve, and these are going to be animated, but they're hoping to bring in all the original actors to do the voice work on these animated episodes, which is going to be really cool. Then they have the Marvel 616, which is like a documentary kind of show about comics and like the history of Marvel and Marvel comics and characters and stuff, like a behind the scenes, true to life documentary series of the history of the Marvel universe, which I think is really dope. And then they have a Marvel Heroes project, which is like them going, it's like I guess like a game show, how it's been described, like where they go out and find real life people doing heroic stuff and help their communities and different stuff, and spotlighting those individuals. So that's like all they've announced so far, but it seems very robust. We have stuff that's going to tie directly into Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is cool. And it's cool because they're picking characters that don't have a chance to get enough, spotlight. I mean, I think Loki might be slightly a little overexposed at this point, but it's cool because he's a beloved character. We don't know what the settings are, of course, because now we're a few days away from Endgame dropping, so we don't really know what Loki's ultimate fate, is or was at this point, and with any of these characters. So it'll be interesting. We won't know where these are particularly set till, we'll probably get more announcements maybe in the summer, like after this comes out, and then we have Far From Home in the beginning of July. That then maybe like San Diego Comic-Con or D23, one or the other, like we might start getting a little bit more information on, or get a better idea based on what happens in those movies, where these shows, what time frames these shows might be set. Are they like in between things that happen at the movies leading up to this, or are they going to be directly afterwards? Are they going to be a little bit of both? We won't know the answers to those questions till we get closer to those launch dates. So again, time will tell, but I think it's a compelling offering, and we're a Disney household. I talk about it from time to time. I'm a part of the Disney Movie Club, and so I get I joined it where, though I do most of my stuff digitally, I still join the Disney Movie Club because my grandson, and we'll purchase, all the different Disney movies, and we'll send him the disc and just get the digital code, so I purchase a lot of my movies. We own all the Marvel movies, we own a ton of the Pixar, and it's in the vast library of Disney movies. A big part of my movie collection are Disney related properties at this point, be it Marvel, Pixar, Disney, Star Wars. We own all the Star Wars movies at this point. So yeah, this service is a must in our household. And as soon as they announced it, but we were worried about the price point, but I think it's smart that they, for what they're offering, 'cause again, and I stress this going back to DC Universe, is that, I felt like they were slightly priced too high for what they're offering. Another thing that I think Disney's being super smart doing is a lot of these shows are already in some form of production across the board, be it the Marvel shows, be it the with the other properties. And I guess I can talk about Star Wars because that's another big prong, and they're heavily tied to comics, and Marvel publishes a lot of their comics under that umbrella. They have the show like The Mandalorian, which is going to be a big deal, that's going to be ready at launch. They already have, these shows are already in production. They're going to be ready to go by that point in time, and have been for a little while now. And I think that was where DC Universe kind of screwed the pooch a little bit, where they hurt themselves, is that production was kind of slow, and they trickled out. They've already said now, Disney said in their presentation, most of these shows, we don't know how they're going to come out with the Marvel shows. They're a little bit more ahead on the Star Wars stuff, where they're The Mandalorian is going to be a big selling point. It's going to be available day one of the service launching. All the episodes, you can binge it, knock it out. That, to me, with a streaming service, is so important. And that's where I feel like DC Universe hurt themselves, where they weren't. They were they trickled out the content because they didn't have enough. And I feel like, Disney is learning from, they're coming in hot. They're coming in hot with their service, and they're looking at the landscape, and streaming services are getting bigger, bigger and bigger. No matter how much we want to kind of avoid it. We started out and it was just Netflix, but now all these, they saw all these companies, media companies saw how big Netflix has become, and now everybody wants to pull their content and get a piece of that pie that Netflix has been having to themselves for a long time now. You had Netflix and Hulu, and Netflix was always kind of superior next to Hulu, but they've improved, and they're kind of their own thing, which is another funny thing, because Disney, once they acquired Fox, they're the majority shareholder in Hulu. So that's going to be interesting, going forward as well. But then everyone's pulling their content off of Netflix. That's why Netflix has invested so heavily in their own form of original content. And, everyone's trying to compete now. And it's, and it's getting more and more diverse, and it's going to be very competitive. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Normally competition is good for consumers, but I feel like when it comes to streaming, the big thing of cutting the cord and all that was being able to save money because of the whole cable company, them raising prices constantly and everything like that. But we're getting to a point with cord cutting, you still got to pay a service provider for your internet. And because you're streaming, you want the best internet. So that can get a little pricey. Then you got to look at now, to get all the content that you might want, it's so separated out, and you're paying a $10 here, a $7 here, $4 here. Like, it starts to add up, and it's getting to a point now with all this competition and the a la carte options is that it's becoming almost just as expensive as it was maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, having everything just through a cable company. So when I look at that aspect of it, I don't know how good it is, because we're kind of getting right back to what we were trying to get away from to begin with, and saving money, unless you just start making hard choices and decide that I'm only going to get X amount. I'm not going to, set a budget and say, despite the streaming services or what have you, I'm only going to spend this much on these services per month. And then you have tough decisions to make, because you're not going to be able to, most people anyway, like I know I can't afford like every single, streaming service out there. So decisions have to be made on like what you're going to get and what you're not going to get. So it's an interesting dilemma to have. But I think, Disney is starting off on a good foot. Again, it's they have a ton of, just the library alone, that Disney has without any more new or original content. But they've been working on stuff over the past year of, new cartoons, new, shows for every single olive branch under this Disney Plus umbrella. They announced, Jeff Goldblum is going to have his own National Geographic show. You got things like The Mandalorian. They're bringing back Clone Wars. They're finishing off the final season of the Clone Wars now. Like they're offering so many things. Exclusive movies that are just going to be on the Disney Plus service, animated as well as live action, new cartoons and television shows. It's just so much. So it definitely seems like a worthwhile proposition going into it. And like I said, the price point is good. We still have a while to go before everything launches. And like I said, we'll probably start getting more, and it might even be more announcements that coming out of some of these things that they'll start announcing under Marvel. But like I said, I don't know how gung-ho I am about the Loki show. I love the interaction in Infinity War between Wanda and the Vision. So I would like to see that show. I wanted more of that, like when they were together. Like I always loved that from like being a kid in the 80s, reading West Coast Avengers, where they're like romance and, really blossomed and like, it's a lot of, good meat there and stories to be told. So it's cool that you can't get that in a movie, and there are probably two individual characters that would never get a solo movie just for them. So to have a show of their own is great, where you can focus on it. We've known through like the Marvel Netflix series that the long form storytelling works with these comic book shows when they're done extremely well, and they're and it looks like Disney is really all in on making these top-notch, highly produced. They're putting money behind these. These are not going to be cheaply done shows, especially with them tying into the MCU and it being an extension of the MCU. They're looking to do these. And I think, most of these are being labeled pretty much like mini-series, where they're going to be anywhere. I think they said they're going to be anywhere from like 6 to 8 to maybe 10 episodes at the most long, which is good. Like if I can get 10 hour-long episodes or 6 or 8 on these particular characters to flesh them out and they're spotlighted, I think would be awesome. I have been doing my watch-a-thon of all the MCU movies leading up to Endgame coming out, and I'm down to Infinity War now. And I was going back and I was looking at the different, the movies, and I posted this on Facebook in the Facebook group where I don't know if he still listens to the show, but he started his own show. A friend that was a listener of the show, he has a YouTube channel called Comic Tube, and he had posted like the watching order of the MCU movies, and I had seen it I think I had seen it either on Facebook or on Instagram, one or the other. So I had posted it, and I was saying, and because he was recommending everyone do a watch through of like all the movies, but watch them like in a particular order as far as where they kind of fall in the timeline. So I've been following that, and it was really cool going back watching all the MCU movies in that kind of format and that layout, and seeing how they flow together. And it's been really fun. Going through the movies, and I love like the chemistry in Civil War and the scene where Falcon and Bucky are going against Spider-Man, and their banter back and forth. So it's like, I'm down to see a show of that. I love Hawkeye. Hawkeye as a character, I love Jeremy Renner as an actor, and I felt like out of all the Avengers, he got shortchanged so much throughout the movies, and so it would be cool to see him get like a 6-episode or 8-episode mini-series where they could really do some really cool things and kind of redeem that character in a way. And the What Ifs, I always loved the What If comics as a kid. They were never like a monthly book, but they would come out, like quarterly or what have you, and they would do just cool takes on different scenarios that happen in the comics. Like one of my favorite ones ever was about the Punisher. What if the Punisher's family didn't die in the park? And I love that one. Then it was one a few years back where they did one on Secret Wars. What if the heroes never left Battle World, and then they perished and like their kids grew up and what have you. And that one was really a good issue. And they used to do like really dope stuff like that. So it's cool seeing that in animated form, and then have the actors do the reprise of their characters, as far as through voice acting. I think it's really dope. Some of the concepts that are coming up for these shows that's going to really make it interesting to see and consume. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't need to know everything right away, but like I said, I think as time passes, everything's going to be mum, and it's like I'm trying to avoid. I know all of us are going to be trying to avoid any kind of spoilers whatsoever on Endgame, till we get a chance to see it coming up this week, because it's going to be the worst. It's like it seemed like even now, just like watching, and it's crazy because like even trying to keep up with something like sports through ESPN. Well, ESPN is owned by Disney, so freaking every commercial is like an Endgame thing. So it's like tough to even try to avoid it, but I'm trying my best to, so I'm not spoiled in advance. I want to go in fresh as possible to try to enjoy the movie as much as possible. But it definitely seems like it's going to be a good service, and I don't want to make it seem like either that I'm ragging on DC Universe, because I have more to say about that in some upcoming episodes. About what my feelings are for DC Universe and where I'm at with the service, because I know I've gone back and forth, and I still like the service overall, but like I said, I'm going to go more in depth in that and some upcoming episodes, so I'll leave that for then. But that's all I really have for you guys for this episode, was just kind of putting some of the information out there. I'm really happy with the direction they're going. Like I said, it seems like it's a huge offering for a reasonable amount of money. I'm in to sign up. Yeah, I think I'm gonna lock in that $70 a month and like pay that up front. You can't do any pre-sign-ups at this point. They just put it out there like what it's going to cost, so people are aware of it. I don't know if they're going to go through a period where like maybe in September or October they'll have pre-sign-ups. We don't know anything else. This was really like an investor call, kind of like news rollout to finally give us like the bullet points on, because we didn't know when it was going to launch, how much it was going to cost. Here's what it looks like now. So we, and they'll probably still refine some more between now and then, but at least we have a better idea outside of it's a service and it's coming. It has a little bit more shape to it. Before I let you guys go, as always, if you want to help support the show, you can check out the Patreon campaign. It's patreon.com/Comic Book Savant. We're doing a lot over there in the community. It's a small number of us. I know everyone doesn't have the money that they can, support. If you can, that's great. It goes back into the show. I'm doing a lot of stuff as far as trying to upgrade equipment. I just was able, because of the Patreons, to get a webcam finally. So I'm going to be trying to do like live streams on YouTube and live on Patreon. Again, like these little things go like a long way. We've been doing some really, good things over there. You get the Comic Book Savant extra episodes, a lot of stuff. Again, I try to build up as many bonuses as possible to make it worthwhile. Like, I'm not asking you to just pour out of your pocket and just give me something for nothing. I'm trying to make it a value-based proposition. If you like the show and you want to help it continue, grow, and expand, that's one way. As for as little as $1 a month, you get access to the Comic Books Savant extra episodes, and it's different tiers. I'm not trying to take all your money. The highest tier is like $7, and you get, that's the platinum, tier to the program, and they start from $1. The highest one is $7, and you can fall anywhere in between. And again, you can go over, check that page out, and you'll see all the different tiers and what bonuses are associated with them. And now that I'm getting more things like the webcam and adding I'm going to be doing live streaming, those tiers will keep evolving as I can offer you guys more. I'm going to build in more to offer you guys to even make it even more enticing. Also, the merchandise store is up and running. It's through Teespring. I have a link on the site to the store. It's teespring.com/Comic Book Savant. I got t-shirts, hoodies. It's multiple t-shirt designs. I think it's like 2 or 3 t-shirt designs. I think a coffee mug, a hoodie. So it's a few different offerings there. If you want to, get you some dope Comic Book Savant merchandise, check that out. And also just, if you can't do any of that, just I appreciate you guys so much. I'm seeing you guys sharing and retweeting out. That is helping so much. Like the growth to the podcast, to the YouTube channel. I appreciate you guys going over to YouTube and subscribing. Like that's definitely been growing. I can't do it without your support, and I can see you guys out there doing it. I see you retweeting and sharing everything that I'm doing, and it means so much. I love you guys for that. And also, if you got a moment and you haven't already, go over to iTunes and drop a review on the podcast. That always, helps a ton. I got one I read on the air a few episodes back. So, if you haven't, there's a lot of you out there that haven't gone over there. Drop over to iTunes, drop a iTunes review. That definitely, that always helps keep me elevated on iTunes and get more eyes on the podcast there as well. So, it's a lot of content coming. It's about to be crazy next couple of months. We got Endgame coming. We got Dark Phoenix coming. We got Far From Home coming. Far From Home coming. Yeah, so we have like a few big comic book movies coming over the next few months. I'll be covering and seeing all of them. So, next week's episode will be the spoiler review for Endgame coming up for next week. And like I said, we're ramping up for Dark Phoenix. That's going to be the last Fox released, I think, because we don't know what's going on with New Mutants. So that might be the last fully released theatrical Fox X-Men movie that we're going to get. So that's a big deal. I feel a certain kind of way about that. So I definitely will be covering that. And again, Far From Home as well. So a lot of stuff coming. I got you covered across the board. Check out the YouTube channel as well. I have so much content coming out over there as well. So be on the lookout for that. Again, I appreciate everything you guys do. You have a good week. I will see you next time for another episode of Comic Book Savant. You guys have a good week, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.